If you can get any skill in terms of navigating relationships and your friendships, especially friendships, learn how to compartmentalize, okay? Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of It's That Deep. I hope you're well. I hope you're feeling good. Today, we're talking about the mistakes, friendship mistakes I made in my 20s. I'm still in my 20s. We give God the glory. I've been in reflective mode lately. I think I'm always in reflective mode, but I wanted to share if I was to talk to someone else and that person came up to me and was telling me about how they're struggling with friendships and just the hurt they've experienced in the past and trying to figure out how to navigate it and what they can do better. These are things that I would tell that person. Yeah, that's basically what this episode is going to be about. If you're just stumbling on the podcast for the first time, this is actually a series. It's the friendship series. So there was an episode out last week. So if you haven't listened to that, go ahead and listen and then come listen to this one. Or listen to this one first, whatever works for you. The first mistake I think I made was not making new friends as I was going through life. Okay. I think I got into that headspace of no new friends, or I don't know if I actually did, but I wasn't necessarily intentional about connecting with people as I was navigating or fostering new relationships as I was navigating life. And I was comfortable, if I just say so myself. I just had friends in the same place as I was, the same state as I was, and there was never really a need to go out of my way to be intentional about making new friends. I was intentional about the existing friendships I had, but not necessarily thinking about getting to know other people more. Obviously, it's effort, right? But also, I do this thing where I'm stuck in that comfort I have of the people are already around me. There's no way this is going to change, but change is going to happen. Okay. Change is a constant thing in life. It is going to happen. Your friends are going to move. Your friends are going to get into relationships. They're going to change in the things that they believe in. And there are times where you're just not aligned anymore. And I also just think regardless of all these changes, there's so much freshness that comes in like fostering new relationships. Yes, it is hard. Yes, it takes time, but that's the whole point, giving things time, right? And that even goes into my second point, but I want to touch on this first thing really well. If you're someone that has that mindset of like no new friends, I think that that's fine, but I also would challenge you to ask yourself, what about creating new friendships is such a hassle for you? That doesn't mean, and that's why we need to understand what friendship is in the first place and what your idea of friendship is, because not everyone is necessarily coming into your life to become your close friend or anything like that. It can just be an acquaintance. So I mean, obviously we're using friendship loosely, like the tag friendship is just, we're using it loosely because that's the only way we can make sense of the relationships that we have outside of, your family relationships and your romantic relationships, right? Everything falls under the umbrella of friendships. But under friendship, you have acquaintances, you have your close friends, you have your best friends, whatever. And so how are you giving space for you to also have acquaintances? Because again, if you listen to the previous episodes, there are seasons and there are times where acquaintances become friends. You get to know each other, you're in the same headspace, and there's now room for you guys to foster your relationship even further. So just keeping an open mind is something I wish I had early on. The next thing I'll tell the younger version of myself is learn to compartmentalize. If you can get any skill in terms of navigating relationships and your friendships, especially friendships, learn how to compartmentalize, okay? Even in your close friendships, you have to learn to compartmentalize in the kinds of information that you share, kind of things that you're expecting and all of that. But generally, as a rule of thumb, I think in the people that you call your friends, people that you call your close friends, people that you call your acquaintance, people that you expect advice from, the people that you expect to pour into you, the people people that you know are just calling you because you're the one that is pouring into them. You have to learn to compartmentalize. And one of the ways I'm learning that is through prayer. I've had to go and ask the Holy Spirit to help me, because I will be so offended, so hurt by the fact that people were just expecting so much from me. And when I needed them in that same light, or when I was going through a tough time, I felt like they were not there for me. They are not those people for me. I just had to literally settle down and think about it and think through it. Like, why is this the expectation from this person? Has this person ever given me any reason to even believe that they were going to be there for me emotionally? Compartmentalize, because not everyone has their own purpose in your life. And the more you learn that and the more you lean into that, I think the less offense you have to deal with in life, the less unforgiveness, anger, resentment that you have to deal with in life, because then you know how to navigate each relationship. You know what it is where you feel safe, where you know that you can have certain conversations, what you need to share and what you don't. Like, those are very important things that you need to be able to kind of get into in order for you to actually navigate your relationships. Because what happens, and what I'm seeing in conversations everywhere most of the time, is that we are expecting one person to be everything for us. And I used to be under this, I used to be in this boat. Okay. I would have one person. I'm like, why am I looking for 50 other people? I'm okay with the person I have. One person, it cannot be everything for you except God. Every other human being is going to fall short. I want you to know that. And that's why you need balance. Okay. You need balance. There are friends that you have, and you know that you will not necessarily go and talk to them about your relationship issues or your romantic relationship issues, just because you feel like maybe you guys just have different ideas of what a relationship looks like. And there are friends where you talk to when you're going through like a mental stress or whatever. There are friends that you go out with and you hang out with, and those are not people that you want to share all your emotional whatever with them. Those are not people that you want to talk about certain personal information, like certain personal issues with. And there are people that are just your shopping friends. There are people that are your creator friends, and there are people that are your, church friend. Your friendships are like an estate, right? You imagine what an estate looks like. There are some apartments that would be like a 2-bedroom, and there's more space. Okay, there's more space for you to put things in. And there are apartments that will be maybe just a studio, and you know what you can fit and how you have to design that space for it to fit your needs. And maybe one will be a loft. Maybe it just doesn't suit certain things, okay? And you can't put certain things in it. That's how you want to think of your relationships or your friendships. There are friendships and people that kind of get 3-4 parts of you in one. You're able to go shopping with, you're able to watch movies with, you're able to talk about your faith with and feel safe, and you're able to share. Thank God. That is amazing. And so, but that person is not also everything. Do you get what I mean? Sometimes we do have those kind of people, and it's amazing to have those kind of people. But I guess where that frustration comes, or what I'm saying with a lot of people, is that they are frustrated at the other people that are not similar to that person for them. And everything I'm saying, I've gone through all of this, and that's why I'm telling you guys, okay? I would be frustrated that, why is this person not like this? Why can't I talk about my faith with this person? And the Holy Spirit had to really talk to me about offense, resentment, anger, and the ways that the enemy really tries to get into your mind, especially attacking your relationships and your friendships, because you are looking into people to be what you need God to be for you. Actually, again, it comes to idolatry, and we need to know that idolatry is not only in creating images, okay? It's in relationships. It's in looking for God in people rather than in God himself. Next thing I'll say is not being value-minded. Oh gosh. I don't even blame younger Winifred, because I think society plays a huge role in how we look at our friendships. And it is just, I think, around this time, or maybe since the pandemic that people are even talking about friendships in the way that we're talking about it, because I think a lot of people are lonely. A lot of people are going through a serious case of loneliness, right? I never had to think of values when it came to friendships. If you're looking to form a closer relationship with people, you have to think of your values at the center of who you are. What do you value? If it's kindness, if it's respect, if it's, the way that you communicate, those are important things. And I think that society talks about that in terms of romantic relationships, and we don't talk about it in friendship. You liking movies with someone, you guys liking shopping together, whatever, is not the grounds for a good friendship, especially when you want to create like a closer relationship with that person, as opposed to going in with that idea of, okay, yeah, we will just shop together or we'll just watch movies together. This is like my regular movie date. What is the source of that person's like values? I know that my source is Christ. I know that there are things that I value because I have a relationship with Christ. And there's some times where, your friendship cannot blossom with someone that maybe just has a different belief system in a very like extreme way. So I think of kindness, I think of communication, I think of respect, honoring the way that they respect your time, your boundaries, those kind of things. When you think of it, go more value-based than being materialistic in how you view people, okay? Next thing I'll say is going off of what has not been established. So this, if you're listening to this, again, thank you for saying this the other day, but I was having a conversation with a friend and I was talking about how, he just seems very unbothered. I've never met someone, he's so unbothered, especially when it comes to people. But he was explaining to me in terms of forming new relationships, going off of what has been established. Like, do not make any decision off of what has not been established. Putting this into practice is forming a new relationship with someone, and you're the one constantly reaching out. You met someone, you guys bonded over, I don't know, how you love to cook, and you're already making assumptions in your head and already, oh my gosh, this person is, just based off of how this person is interacting with you in your mind and physically, you guys have formed a great connection. You're excited about it, which you should be excited, right? I always say that nothing should take your excitement away, because it is okay to be excited about meeting new people. It's okay to be excited about making a new friend. However, that excitement should also come to meet your reality, where if you feel like you've made that connection, but you've reached out to that person after that day and you're like, oh my God, we should do this cooking thing together. I have a cooking class. There's this cooking class I found. And that person's like, yeah, oh my, we should do that. And you've made plans. You've tried making plans. That person is not reaching out. Maybe you guys go out once. The next time, again, you're the one initiating. The third time, you're the one initiating. I think, in your brain, well, some people tend to struggle with that and then start to get offended. But you're going off of what has not been established, because that person is also not sharing any curiosity with you. The person is not trying to form anything with you. So you are offended over something that has not been established. You are offended over something that did not even exist in the first place. So forming your relationships based off of what has been established is like giving things time, allowing things play out, giving people time to show themselves and to be curious about you and want to learn about you as well. I felt like it was my job to constantly put in the effort into forming new relationships, because people will say that. People will say, if you're in a new city, if you've moved to a new state, these people already have relationships that they formed. So it really is on you to put in that effort. And while I think that is true, you should put in the effort in forming relationships and reaching out to people. The responsibility isn't solely on you. It is not on you to constantly be the person reaching out, okay? You do it once, you do it twice, do it third time. You deserve to be reached out to as well. You deserve to be asked about. And if people actually want to get to know you and hang out with you, they would reach out to you as well. When I talk about this, I'm talking about situations where you've made an assumption based off of how you would behave. Do you get what I mean? Like, if you're buying stuff for someone, if you're buying birthday gifts for this person and you're happy to celebrate this person, and you've invited this person to your space, you go out to this person, you're inviting this person on a trip and whatnot, maybe on your end, those are things that you've reserved for people that you actually enjoy their company, you actually want to form a good relationship with these people. So it's sentimental for you. And you're assuming that if someone else is doing the same thing, if someone else is buying gifts for you, of course, it's the same thing. It means the same thing to them. Dare I say that that's not always the truth. Some people find certain things easier than others. Okay. Like, to some people, inviting you to my space is nothing. I've met people that have invited me to their house. The exact day I met them, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm having something, you should come. And maybe I'll think about that a little bit more before I do that, but people are like that, and you then make the assumption, oh my God, this person wants to be my friend because she invited me, and this person wants to be my friend because she invited me on a trip. Sometimes it's just to reduce cost. Some people are inviting you on trips to reduce the cost of the trip. Okay, accommodation will be cheaper, all right? Transportation will be cheaper, and sometimes it's just to have more people on the trip. Maybe they were already 4 and they were 5 and they need one more person. You come in. And this is not always the case, okay? Sometimes people are genuine and they want to get to know you, and you're an amazing person that they want to get to know. But it shouldn't like, that idea shouldn't come based off of your own assumptions, because there are guys, for example, in romantic relationships, there are guys that buy you gifts, but they will buy you gifts and they will never ask you out. They're not looking for a relationship. They're not looking to ask you out. Nothing. But they are treating you like, in your mind, what a girlfriend is. And you are telling people like, oh, but he's buying me. There's no way he's not in love with me. He's buying me flowers every day. He's doing this, he's doing that. He flew me out. And it will shock you. It's just, he has money. It's just easy for him to do all those things. That's his way of showing whatever attention he wants to show. And you want to think of that too in friendships. That doesn't mean that person would necessarily prioritize you in certain situations. And it doesn't make that person a bad person. It's just not moving based off of how you also see things. Allow people to show you who they are. I think that's just it. I think everything I'm going to say is going to end with allow people to show you who they are, and pray for a discerning spirit, okay? But yeah, another thing is not respecting your needs or valuing your needs. You guys know that I like to say that you are a person and you have to treat yourself as a person. I keep saying this because a lot of people just navigate life without, like, it's like they're living outside of themselves, existing, but not necessarily living and asking themselves what they need. And so in your relationships or your friendships, you feel frustrated because you know that you're not getting what you need, but you don't also know what you need. And granted, there are times where you have to adjust. There are times where change happens and you maybe reconsider or change the dynamic of the friendship that you're in. But it is important that it is based off of your needs, or knowing how to respect your needs in that situation, or honor your needs in that situation as well. Because when your needs are not met, regardless of how you know that this person is amazing and you are empathetic and you understand maybe they're struggling in that moment or whatnot, there's that place where you come to and you ask yourself, or you have to ask yourself, what do I need here? And how can I stay in this situation, in this time, and be okay? And if I can't, how can I navigate this now, right? It is not necessarily from a place of self-obsession. It is not necessarily from a place of selfishness, but it is in honoring that you are a human being, and there are people that are just okay with taking and taking and taking, and in a way where you feel like you have to work harder to earn their love. You have to work harder to earn their attention and their time. and you are constantly asking yourself, well, I'm doing all these things. I'm just asking you to do one thing, or I'm asking you to call me back, or I'm asking you to, at least call me once a month, whatever. And it feels like too much for that person. And this is friendship, okay? You have to ask yourself, what do I need? And am I operating from a place of scarcity where I feel like I've put in so much in this friendship, or I just feel like, oh yeah, this person is a nice person, but I can see how she's good and she does all these things for people and she has been there for me and we've been friends for 15 years and whatever. But you know that you're not getting what you want, and you've communicated, you've given space, you've try to see it differently, but at the root of it, you're not getting your needs. You have to reconsider. And that's where you come in changing that dynamic, in, again, honoring the seasons that will come in your relationship, or honoring yourself, not abandoning yourself to please other people, not abandoning yourself to kind of make space for other people to constantly treat you how they in whatever way that is comfortable for them, and you're just there existing, going with the flow. Ask yourself, well, what am I operating off of? Scarcity or abundance? Is it okay for me to look at things differently and explore other options here? It takes a lot of prayer, it takes a lot of talking and asking yourself hard questions, but that's something to consider. Another thing is being vulnerable with the wrong people. You guys, being vulnerable with the wrong people. If you're listening to this, it can be very dicey to kind of understand whether or not some people feel safe for you to express. And you don't know until you try, right? So you have to try it once and see how they react and whatnot. But I want to just tell you that the wrong people don't take your vulnerability as an opportunity to show up for you. Instead, they run, they hide. And we can say it different ways. We can say it like, oh, this person didn't know how to respond, and, they don't know how to handle that kind of situation. But I just will tell you that that's not the person you should be expressing to. You should have grace. You should talk to them and maybe express, I didn't necessarily like how you reacted in this way, and see how they react to that. And that should tell you everything you need to know. Okay. But most of the time, the wrong person or the wrong friend will see it as a burden or as pressure to be whatever it is that you're missing. And so when you look at that, you want to think about vulnerability in the sense of, again, going back to compartmentalization, understanding when and who is really open to you sharing, and not going to look at it as an opportunity for pity, as an opportunity for pressure. Because sometimes you just share that you're struggling with something, and that person automatically feels like you are saying it to them because you want them to be that person for you, which is not true in most cases or some cases. And it is also important that you communicate in your vulnerability what it is that what it is that you need. It can be as simple as saying, oh, I'm just venting. Please don't feel the need to whatever, and you vent. But I think that this is where you constantly have to pray to be discerning about who you need to share things with, because sometimes you just want to talk without someone thinking that they have to help you, or they have to pity you, or they have to become your savior. They don't do this. This is not something that people are doing maliciously, okay? You have to risk trying, you have to risk being vulnerable. You have to risk sharing, and you have to have grace for people to kind of digest things and react to it. And if it wasn't done in the best way, you have to have grace to express that in a way if they were not harmful to you. There's some times where some reactions, that there's no going back, okay? But if you know that maybe some things just came as a shock, and you have to have grace for that, and then give room for that conversation to be had, and then decide how you want to move on from that, okay? But anyway, I pray for wisdom. I pray that God heals you. Again, I think this is healing series, okay? I think that there's so much that God has to do in our hearts, and God is doing in our hearts to just change our perspective in the way that we look at people, in the way that we look at friendships. So I just pray for you. I pray that God opens your mind, and I pray that He becomes the center of your life, where He you revolve everything around him instead of the other way around, and he's able to steward your relationships and guide you in the way that would give you so much peace, so much love, and so much grounding as well. I love you so much. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And don't forget to rate and review the podcast. I'll talk to you next week. Again, I love you. Bye.